Hello, 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 everyone. Today's your friendly neighborhood queer Christian, and today is the Friday word. So today we'll be talking about the lessons from the Ark, Noah. There's many lessons. We won't even begin to cover all the lessons, but some particular ones. I believe the reason that God put this on my spirit today was because I'm directing this project that will open on Saturday. It's in previews now, and it was a project that was particularly challenging. It was challenging for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is the subject matter is about domestic terrorism in relation to a white supremacist who's a play. There's some very strong language, those sort of things, and the playwright particularly wanted a woman of color to direct it, right? So there was this challenges there. There were scheduling challenges. There were just many challenges in this process. Amen. But for me, one of the biggest challenges was that this was something completely out of my realm. It was like out of my comfort zone. I had never done any project quite like this before. And so I had no sort of pre-planning. I was not like, oh, I'll do it this way. I had no idea how this was going to all unfold. Amen. And so with that, I wanted to go to Isaiah 41:10. There's no need to fear, for I am God. I'll give you strength. I'll help you. I'll hold you steady. Keep a firm grip on you. Amen. And so in this process, I really had to trust that how this would unfold. I had to rely on God a lot. There was certain things that had to be sort of decided and moved along. Of course, it's an independent theater, so there wasn't, tons of, money, all those sort of things moving along. And also having, the trust that these castmates the castmates in this show, the actors in this show are going to trust this Black woman to sort of guide them on a story about white supremacy, and domestic terrorists. Amen. And I will say that they were wonderful. There was no pushback. They completely, took on a journey. But for my own self, part of that was my own fear and uncomfortability, because I was like, I don't know. I'm not sure how this is going to look. And there was one particular scene that, because also the show has music. I am not a musical theater director. I know very little about music. If there's ever a challenge of music, I'm like, I don't know. Beyonce, right? I can't say that. Amen. But along the process of learning and just being open, there was one scene in particular that was very challenging. And I started one of the rehearsals. I stopped. I said, I have to wait on this. The second time I went to do it, I was like, well, maybe I could do it this way. And then the playwright was like, no, this is not what will be on the space. It was a back and forth. And I was really panicking. And it's on me. I have to figure this out, right? And I was like, what am I doing? Let me just pray. What am I doing? So I went to the side and I prayed. I just prayed. And from after that, it sort of, came together. The playwright was happy, but again, I had to give credit where credit was due. I was very clear. I said, I'm happy, but I want to be honest. I prayed, right? And so sometimes, particularly as people of faith, our faith is just not for other people who are around us. Sometimes we have to be around people who may not particularly be believers or not see it the way we see it, but be able to stand in our truth and be able to say, this is my source. This is where it comes from. Amen. And so with that, I want to go to Exodus. And I'm going to go to Exodus 3:11. But Moses said to God, who am I that I should go to the Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? And God said, I'll be with you, and this will be a sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. Moses said to God, suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you. And they ask, what is the name? Then what shall I tell them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. So I say that because there were moments in this journey, because believe me, it wasn't a financial windfall by any means doing this project. I didn't understand why God would have me here. What was the purpose? And also, how am I going to do this? And I come back to I am has sent me. It was very clear to me because there was other things that could have come on the time and it just didn't work out. It was meant for me to be here for whatever reason. And how people receive this is, maybe people will see this and be like, I don't know what this was, right? That I cannot control. But what I can control and do is know I am sent me. There was a reason God placed me here. There's a reason for God, particularly this story at this time. And like Noah with the ark, I just had to believe. I had to do what Noah did, right? I had to have faith that I was in the right place. Trust the process. Be obedient to when it needed to be done. Because no matter what, no matter what the pay may have been, it was important to get the work done and to do right by the playwright and do right by the actors who are in the show, right? I believe that is your responsibility regardless, once you say yes, amen? So all those sort of elements, like Noah, helped to build, because from the first day and when I saw the first preview last night, I was like, wow, this actually happened. But sometimes when we're in a process and going through things, it's hard to see the end. It's hard to see where it's going to come out of. And this is regardless. It doesn't matter if it's an artistic project. It doesn't matter if it's a marriage. It doesn't matter if it's parenting. It doesn't matter if it's a new job you're entering. Sometimes you walk into the unknown. But if we're like Noah, and we stay on path, if we're like Noah, we send out, like Noah sent out the dove, right? Remember the first day, the boat was there for 40 days, right? And then it floated for 110, and then it sailed for 221 days. But in that process, Noah had to believe what God said. Noah had to stay on path, even when his family was starting to turn against him. Even when the other people on the boat were starting. Even when the animals was like, "What's going on right now?" Even the dove came back, twice and was like, "Okay, what's going on right now?" Amen. And it was the third time when the dove didn't come back. It was like, "Okay, we have solid ground." But in that time was holding the line, perseverance. And so that I would offer is that if there's something you're dealing with that's really challenging, to stay the course. Be like Noah. Find trust, find faith, be obedient to what God is asking you, right? And you never know what would be on the other end. Because the story of Noah is known by everyone, right? Even if you're non-believers, they know the story of Noah. That's the power of what it looks like to stay on task. And remember, Noah was he wasn't like a professional boat maker, right? He was a novice, and all he did was listen to what God said. As I was on this project, I'm not a musical theater director, right? And this is not musical theater, so to speak. But again, staying on task, being open, relying on God, and you just don't know where that will take you. Amen. All right, everyone. I hope this message, touch someone, help someone. I hope that it will guide you if you're working on something very difficult right now, I would love to hear if there is something that you're working on and that you want prayer around, please, note it below. That's what this is for. Amen. All right, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful week. See you next week.